are you the decision maker? 99% of humans will say yes, I am, because they want to be, powerful. I think salesperson have to like being rejected. I don't care if you're doing 2 hours or 80 hours, right? Like if you're working 2 hours a week, but you're still achieving quota, I'm like, well, I will be happy for you. So a good manager is actually a manager that we don't need. So you actually have to ask 3 to 4 times the same question to have the real challenge. Sometimes price comes with value. And I hate talking about cost and price. I really like to talk about investments. Every piece of information your prospect gives you, it's cards to play. A good salesperson is someone curious that is asking questions. And I will stop here. That's it.
Welcome to Business Minds. Today we're delighted to welcome Arthur de Vaublanc, Director of Sales for Merinio.
Thank you.
Technology. Thank you very much for being with us today. So first of all, I would like to ask you to describe your role in just a few words so we understand better what you do.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, before explaining my role, because it can be easy to understand to a lot of people, but we're working in a small company, so we actually didn't have any sales team and sales department before that role was created. So I had to create a sales process, a sales playbook, hire about a bit less than 10 person in less than a month, and then onboard them, every one of them. And we're studying some pretty complex stuff as a tech software company. So the onboarding phases is quite long. So obviously we try to reduce that as much as we can. And then, the goal is to provide them support, make them succeed, and reports directly to the CEO when it comes to revenue forecasting.
Excellent, thank you. So we will dig into that a bit more later.
Sure.
So first of all, we like to start our interviews to understand where the journey, the career started even before. So my first question is very easy. Where did you grow up? And what kind of job were you dreaming to do as a kid?
Sure, good question. So I think with my name and my accent, we can hear that I came from France. So I always lived in Paris, but having a Danish mom that moved in France pretty early in her life, I always was really interested with living out of the country. So I decided to move in Montreal going to the university. And then the plan was going back to Europe doing a master's degree, but I never did that. And I will have the opportunity to explain a bit why, the reason behind. But I actually realized that I could have great career in North America and Montreal, having the opportunity to meet a lot of founders. And that's the reason why I decided to start my career in sales in Montreal.
Excellent. And so in your younger years, what kind of personality traits did you exhibit early on?
Sure. So I think I've always been a social but shy person. I know it's not matching well, but social in the way that I was always interested in human interaction. My parents was really good at it. Always have friends at home to dinners, even if they were really busy. And shy in the way that I always like to dream alone. That's I think the biggest trait I have. Relational, shy as well, but really ambitious. For example, I always like big entrepreneurs. I like their behavior, and I'm always inspiring to create my own company. So taking all of that together, I think is the reason why as well I'm really interested in doing business and working in sales.
Okay. You just mentioned your ambition and your interest in business. Were there any signs in your early year when you were a kid that you would pursue a career in business?
I think I've always been, I have a mom that is artist. She was doing painting. She's not famous at all, but I saw from that is really hard when you're an artist trying to do something that you believe in, when you don't have a lot of success. And I think it's what it takes even when you are a business entrepreneur, right? You're doing something that you really believe in, and then you obviously have to adapt when it's not working out. You have to change, you have to create another company if it's failed. But at the end of the day, it's just people that are, that believe in what they're doing and just going 100%. Even if they have people that say, it's a bad idea, don't do it, they're just doing it. And that's what I really like. And having a dad that is more from the corporate world, I, kind of try to mix those two behaviors. The founder, artist point of view and the corporate, really disciplined other. And when you mix those both, I think it can create something pretty great.
Okay, very good. So you came to Montreal for your studies.
Yep.
What kind of studies did you pursue? And did you already have a clear goal in mind at the time?
Good question. Actually, not at all. My plan was to do, first of all, a bachelor degree. And I didn't really want to specialize myself early. That's the reason why I did a business international bachelor degree. So you learn a lot of things, but nothing in the same time, because after the 3 years, you're not specialized at all. And I did that because back in the days, I was thinking of doing a master degree in finance. Finance is always something that was interesting me, talking about investments, returns, revenue. That's always something I loved. But yeah, then during my studies, I realized that, not realized, but I had the chance to meet a lot of founders. And yeah, the point of common that all those founders had was like they all have amazing ideas. The majority of them are engineers. They don't have the business aspect of doing business. And that's rare. That's actually that moment I realized that, hey, they all have a point of common is that they all have amazing products, but it's hard to sell. So how can I provide value to founders is working in sales, basically. So that's, where all the,
Interesting.
Sure.
And so you mentioned your parents. Did you have any inspiration figures, some role models when you were younger?
Yeah, so my parents is definitely help a lot. And I don't want to be too everyone will answer that question, but I really love every founders and big founders. Like Elon Musk, for example, is not someone that I really like or inspire, but the fact that he's don't care about, the society idea, he just, move forward with what he think is good for him and the humanity, I think is a good inspirational person in that way. Of course, he's doing business that, a lot of people, including me, don't like how he do that. But I think Elon Musk is one of them, but I think something I really like to do, my mom will hate me saying that, but I really love comparing artists like Picasso, for example, with biggest founders of today's world.
Okay.
And the common point they have is the creating, aspect or the creating needs they have to be alive, actually. Like they always want to create something, even if, it's working well for them, great. But Picasso, I'm pretty sure he was painting just because he liked that. Afterwards, of course, he was earning good money thanks to that, but his main goal was painting. And even if he was not earning any money his whole life, he was still continuing painting. And it's actually the same with big founders, and biggest entrepreneurs actually have that same behavior. Of course, there is more the business and revenue mindset that they add to it, but at the end of the day, a real successful founder will have at least 3 to 4 big fails before he have a company that's working out and that have a good growth. So they still have that ability to create something, even if it's not working out, they will still create something. And on top of that, a founder that have a great success will not buy an island and do nothing else at the end of his life, right? Like if you look at the 10 biggest founders in today's world, they had great success. Did they stop creating something? Did they stop creating a new company? No. And I think Elon Musk is a good example. He sold a company hundreds of millions at the age of 20s. He created something the day after, and again, and again, and again. And that's how I really like, those type of person. And that's what, the type of person that inspired me. Yeah.
Very interesting comparison. And so in your younger years, did you ever envision yourself becoming sales director for tech companies, tech startup like Merinio?
I think I would say yes and no. No in the way that I'm an ambitious person, but I never really liked that title thing. Coming from France, that's a huge problems that we have in France. A lot of hierarchy that you have to respect. Title is really important. That's not my end goal as an individual, but of course, working in startups, I always looked at high intense growth. So when you're looking at this, it was not my goal to be just one sales player in one company for all my life. Of course not. I wanted to have a high growth, build a team, support that team, provide even more value to customer. But if I speak for my own, I was very motivated to just being a sales executive before accepting that role, because it was allowing me to help my customer, provide value to them, but as well to the company as I'm bringing more revenue. So helping the founding team. But now that I'm a sales director, is even more than that. I'm still be able to help my current customers, my collaborators or partners, for example, providing value to the founding team in the same time. But on top of that, now I have to help and support my sales team because their success will be mine at the end of the day. So that's the extra thing that I really like with the sales director role.
Okay, interesting. So we'll now look into your career.
Yep.
And you mentioned your international business curriculum. What was your first job? How did your career start?
Yeah, so I will really go back when I was in high school, but my first big career step was an internship. And I worked in big corporation. It was some internship in large companies, and after those internships, I kind of realized that the corporate world was not for me. Like big teams, a lot of structure, a lot of procedure, nothing was moving fast. It was kind of slow. You had to do your job very well, but if you want to overstep the role or responsibility to another, you just have to stop there. So it was kind of, how can I say that? It was not moving, right? There was a lot of flexibility, unless you are on the high top executive levels and you move on your own. When you're starting in a big corporation, big companies, international company, you're kind of blocked in the role you're being hired for, right? So that was the first realization. Afterwards, when I came to Montreal, I had the opportunity to work as an analyst at Frontier Venture, which is the first student-run venture capital in Canada. And that's actually the biggest career, I think the second biggest career steps I had in my whole career, even if I have a young career for now. It was actually at that moment I had the opportunity to be on the investment side, so understand what we're looking at as an investor when we want to invest in companies and what we're looking at on the founder side. That's the moment when I realized that a lot of them needs to have good salespeople, because at the end of the day, of course, we talk about marketing, products, etc., but we need good sales to grow as a company. So that's really the reason why I realized that, hey, startups is built for me and sales more precisely. So that will be the second one. And then the third one is obviously Merinio, the company I'm working at right now.
How did you get here then? What was the step? Was it your decision or did someone approach you?
So we did some due diligence back, it was, I think, 4 to 5 years ago. Merinio talked with Frontier Ventures for the first small investment round. And that's actually how I met them. And then back in the days, I knew that they were trying to get some money to hire people, including a sales individual. I was, finishing my studies, so it was like a good time. Yeah, it was a good timing. So we started working together at that moment. And then obviously I had others. I worked with other company after rejoining again Merinio, but that's the startup vibe, and that's what I like. But yeah.
Okay. And so can you tell about your current job? What does your day-to-day job looks like?
So there is no really routine, but if I have to explain my day-to-day job, I can explain that on a week. I really like to keep the Mondays and the Friday for the admin task. For example, every Monday I meet every one of the team members on one-on-one session. The goal of those meetings is to understand what is the pipeline looking at, what is the revenue they think they will be able to generate before the end of the month, before the end of the quarter. If they need any help, support, I will, we'll discuss that. So, for example, any sales incentive that, can help them to close a deal quickly. So that will be the first step. And then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if I have to summarize that, we have the weekly sales meeting. Like we are a remote, like a hybrid model company, but the Tuesdays are the sales team office day. So everyone from the sales team go at the office. And that's where we do the weekly sales meeting. And the goal is basically to explain or showcase the success from last week, explain the high priority of the current week, the deals each individuals are working at based on the information I received the day before on Monday. Share all good practices or reminders or everything. And the goal is to motivate the team, give them the good energy and start the week. And then, actually will be to support the team on meetings with customer, discuss with actual, like when I say customer, with prospect actually, but having meetings with current customer that may have some new needs, would like to negotiate terms, discuss with partner, that can be great partner for referrals, for example, and then of course having the meetings with the CEO and the others directors when we need to discuss.
Every week?
Almost every week, yeah. Yeah, we have the directors meeting every week as well. Yeah, sure.
Okay, and so how many people are on your sales team? You said around 10?
At the moment, we are around 10, 9 exactly.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, and how do you train someone new entering the sales team?
Yeah, how we train them. That's really, we have two main roles in the team. We have the business development representative role, and that is more like an entry level in the way that the main responsibility, that is the most important because they're basically building the pipeline, but is to generate meetings. So calling prospects, try to make them curious in the way that they want to have a first meeting with the other role that we have, which is the sales executive. And the sales executive will basically take that first meeting and go through the whole sales process. So depending on the role you are at, you will have different training. But obviously the real famous training we have is a role play. So I play the role of the prospect. He will try to convince me. And then some more, of course, technical training when it comes to do demos, because we're selling a software. So we have to understand how to demo the platform, because they're doing that. We don't have any sales engineer doing the demos on their own. That's the sales executive job. So it's a real 360 role that requires a lot of skills. Listening skills, but as well providing, be able to, as soon as you listen to a challenge, be able to, rewarding that in the way that you're providing, a solution to the customer. And sometimes the solution we provide is kind of complicated. And the reality is when we sell our product, we're selling that to decision makers that will never use Merinio. So it's actually the team and managers that will use Merinio, right? So that's how we need to stay high level, but technical in the same times.
Yeah.
And that's when it can become tricky. But basically the training is a mix of role play, technical skills, and then, some workshop on how to demo that specific feature, how to create a wow effect, how to handle objections. And then, there is a lot of things that we can discuss about that for an hour for sure. But
sure. Well, quickly, you mentioned the entire process of the sales. Can you walk us through the main steps? Maybe you just gave.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So if we take the normal steps, okay. So we have, let's say, one of the business development representative that called you. Let's say you are VP of operation of a security company that we try to have as a customer. Okay. So he will call you. You will be curious of what we're doing. You will accept the first discovery call. So that's the first meeting we use as an opportunity to understand more about the customer needs. So that meeting is actually the sales executive asking as much as question he can. He's not speaking. The goal of this meeting is that the sales executive is not speaking. He's not sending anything. We really want to understand how the customer, the prospect is working at the moment, and if we can provide value. Because that's something really important in the sales team that I try to have as a behavior. I don't want to have sales individuals that push the sales. I want that it comes from the customer. And when you do that, we're not in a rush. But my point is that at the end of that discovery call, if we see that we cannot provide value, we just say, okay, so thank you for your time. Obviously, we don't, it's not a great fit, so we're not moving forward. I see a lot of companies as well that, sell everything, say yes to every question. So yes, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that, but then they not deliver. I prefer to have a really well-qualified, prospect that is really aligned with how we think we can handle his challenge, instead of say, push the sales basically. So that will be the first steps: understand the customer needs, be able to engage him on how we can cover those needs, and then that will be on the demo section. So we'll go an overall demo. So we'll show him the platform, the Merinio platform. We'll show him not a personalized demo, but it will be personalized in the way that we'll, of course, show him the features that is aligned with the challenges that he have. And then we'll go on the negotiation steps, so pricing, negotiation, referrals, if they want to speak to our current customer, anything else. And the typical sales cycle can take, between 1 to 3 months, but that's really depends. Yeah.
Okay, and so throughout all this process, how much time on average does this entire process last?
That's between 1 or 3 months. That's a sales cycle. So, and then of course that depends. If it's an inbound lead, usually it go faster. If it's an outbound, so if we create the opportunity, the sales opportunity, it will take longer for sure. But 1 to 3 months on average.
And as a sales director, do you still have to make a lot of prospect calls, or is that like reserved to maybe the business developers?
I would really like to say yes, because I was actually really enjoying doing that. I love getting, having objections. That's something I really like to deal with. Not everyone, but I think it's a quality that you need to handle as a sales individual. But no, the reality is now I'm not doing that. It's not my role. The value of my role is very providing support to the team. So if a sales executive wants me to a meeting, he thinks that I can add value, of course I will be there. But my main goal as a sales director, and that's something I learned from mentor I have is, a good manager is a manager that actually allowing his team, enable his team to be autonomous. So a good manager is actually a manager that we don't need. I don't know if it's right? But if, everyone is calling me, everyone asking me for being there on meetings, is that in a sort of way, I did a bad job, right? My goal is to make them autonomous, to make them succeed on their own without my help. And of course, if they need help, I will be there. But yeah, that's how I see things.
So I have an extra question here. In your training in sales, is the body language, the interaction, like, for example, how to make a proper handshake, is this something you get trained for? Is this something you think about?
Very good question. We try to train them for that. But, talking about the tech industry now, and since COVID, all the meetings is, using, Zoom, online. But still, it's still something we need to think about. And that's, the first thing I see in the meetings when I arrived on the Zoom call is that is the prospect camera active? And if it's not, I will really challenge him to make everything I can to make that camera on, because the body language, how they react on things you're saying is really important. And it's actually a big part of the negotiation and the sales on his own, because if you're just pitching or talking with someone without having his body language or face expression, you don't know exactly how, is he happy? Is he engaged? Do he have any concern that we can, and that's basically how you do a sale. For example, I'm saying something, I see that he, okay, so clearly I just said something that he don't like. So let's talk about this now as I'm talking with that guy. And when you don't see that or you don't take care of that, then you can miss a lot of things for sure, yeah.
You're directing sales in a tech startup. How do you think being in a tech startup makes your sales job unique compared to any more traditional sales jobs?
I think in tech, what we sell is concrete and in the same time abstract. In the way that we sell a software, like I said earlier, we sell that to decision makers that we actually never use the software on their own. So we have to sell them on the value we can bring. And it's important to not be technical in the same times, but what do our job very special in the tech industry is that, you may know, but tech is moving very fast. Even if we can cover a challenge of, that one of our customers may have today, maybe that challenge will change tomorrow, so we'll have to adapt quickly. And if we look at that in a good way, I see a limited possibility to provide value to our customer, because their their needs will change, every time, and we'll have the opportunity to provide value to that needs, to cover that needs. So that's an unlimited possibility of sales and adding value to the customer. Yeah.
Okay, and so can you still explain to us a bit what your software consists in, even maybe the value and maybe even the technical side?
Yeah, sure. So I will not go into detail, but basically what we do is workforce management software. So we help large companies managing their employees and their teams more efficiently. So our biggest customer is security companies. So for example, if you have physical guards that need to be dispatched in different customer locations, we basically help managers to streamline that process when it's generally done manually through Excel file, or they have big ERPs or legacy software that do everything, but everything not in a good way. So we really specialize in scheduling workforce management. So it's a very competitive industry. The company was created in 2016. But yeah, we're doing pretty good at the moment.
Okay. Are there a lot of competitors in the same kind of workforce software?
Yeah, there is a lot of them. Like, it's a huge industry, but that's actually really, really good, a good sign. That's something I learned as well, working on a venture capital. Having a founder arriving in front of a venture capital team saying, hey, I have an idea and there is no one in the world that do that, is actually kind of red flag, because if there is no company that doing that, maybe it's that there is no demands or there is no needs, right? That's not always the truth. You can meet the founders that have that amazing idea, like for example Facebook, etc. But even Facebook have competitors. Even if we think back in the days when he created Facebook, he had a lot of competitors. So that's the thing. So we're not afraid about competition. It's just an opportunity to do better than them. But yeah, to answer your question, there is a huge market out there. Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. And so, what do you like most about your job, generally?
I think it's like I said with my quality when I was a lot younger, is the human aspect of it. Like, actually, sales is like a very psychologist kind of job, in the way that you have to understand what will you prospect, why will you prospect buy your product, and of course, we're talking about company goals, but at the end of the day, the VP of operation you talk with have some personal goals as well, and you have to understand, what is his main motivation? Do he want a promotion? Do he want to, you have to understand what the prospect is looking at, and you have to ask questions. And I think the things that I like the most is actually understand, like having the opportunity to ask questions to prospect and understand the needs, but not staying, on a high level, being, really more, having as much as detail you can. And that's, one of the skills I learned is the why. So you actually have to ask 3 to 4 times the same question to have the real challenge. Okay. So for example, what is the main challenge? If you have to give me a top 3 of this challenge, it will be, okay, X, Y, Z. Great, okay, perfect. So you just mentioned X. So what is the impact of X? Oh, the impact is that the HR department have to deal with that. Oh, okay, and how many hours do they deal with it? You see, so you really have to get deeper and deeper as soon as you talk with the prospect. And I think it's the curiosity that comes with it. So you will have to be curious. You really want to exceed the customer expectation by understand, what is the challenge that you're trying to solve.
Okay, and would you say this human understanding and the curiosity are the main skills for someone who would like to start in sales?
It is, because we talk a lot about sales process, but at the end of the day, it's the buying process of the customer that you will need to be aligned with. It's not the customer that will follow your buying process. Of course, you will do everything you can to do that, but at the end of the day, it's his behavior and how he handles things that will make the buying process, that you will need to adjust on his buying process. Because sometimes let's say I will ask a question, are you the decision maker? 99% of humans will say yes, I am, because they want to be powerful, right? Okay. But instead of saying that, is the same question would be to, hey, you mentioned that last year you did that initiative. I understand this have a big impact of your team, but for that initiative you mentioned, who deployed that? And instead of saying, are you the decision maker? And he will say yes, he will basically answer, the real answer you would need is, oh, it was the CFO that signed the contract and then deployed that tool. Okay, so then that you have to speak with the CFO and not with that guy anymore. Okay. Instead of saying, so it's kind of a mix of psychology, understand how they reading between the lines, but asking the right question as well, without being too pushy, of course.
And in this case that you just mentioned, how do you transition from talking to a first person to switching to someone else? How do you do that without offending anyone? Of
course, yeah, that's something that can be tricky. I did a lot of mistakes when I was starting, but again, it's by knowing your customer. So if at the beginning of the call he said, yeah, this challenge have an impact on me, of course, as the VP of operation, but as well on the HR department, right? So now I know that for the next meeting, I will not need only him, I will need the HR department as well. So instead of just saying, hey, I need your colleague, you say, hey, at the beginning of the call, you mentioned that this had an impact on this team, but as well the HR department. What do you think about having them on the meeting? Because I'm really convinced that it will add value to them as well. That's maybe how you can try to keep control. But again, at the end of the day, as a sales individual, you can't control everything, but you can work on having the best chances of controlling the sales cycle. But yeah, that would be an example. Try to get back the impact he mentioned on the specific teams, or something that he described at you. Take that, because every piece of information your prospect give you, it's cards to play on the sales point of view, right? So that's really important of listening every word he's saying and be able to react to that in a good way to avoid offuscating him, of course. So yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other tips, secrets that you learned in your first years as a salesperson that you would be comfortable sharing?
Recently, I learned something recently. A sales executive had a deal at the end of the pipeline. And right now we have a new director of operation that just arrived in the team, and I learned a lot from that person because she had a lot of experience. But we were basically challenging that sales executive, saying, okay, how can you be sure that deal will close at the end of the month? Mm-hmm. For example, do you have an idea of what is their budget? And he said, no, but I cannot ask them because then they will be offuscated, they will not react in a good way. And of course, if you say, "Hey, do you have enough budget for my solution?" A lot of people will say, "Hey, that's a tricky question. It's not an easy question to ask." But instead of saying that, you can say, "Hey, you asked me for a pricing meeting. I will do that, right? But I can give you a retail price, our base price for sure. But the more you give me, the more I will be able to work on a price that will make sense for both of us." So that's the reason why I'm really curious to understand if you have already a budget, because if I know the budget, I will be able to, prepare a pricing model that will make sense for you and for us. So that's the way you ask for a budget question without, making your prospect understanding why you're asking that question. So that's some example. So the question is the same, but it's actually trying to get your prospect understand and get the information you need, because a lot of the time when you ask question, you don't have the answer you want. So yeah.
Okay, and so the pricing point is a very interesting one. How do you, as a salesperson, do you have goals of revenues to attain each month, quarter? How do you manage to go from prospecting to meeting these objectives?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge with every sales individual in a sales team. Of course, there is the pipeline accuracy. So that's something we work on every week. So we, of course, asking our sales executive to update the pipeline. Every deal has to be updated. So the closing date, for example, if it's in the past, we'll not take that in count. The goal of that is basically providing the CEO and the board the best as possible revenue forecast. So what do we have at the pipeline right now? Looking at the closing dates, looking at the stage, are they at the end of the pipeline, yes or no? Looking at the value, then we'll be able to do some kind of forecasts based on the chances of closing as well. And then I will be able to report to Maxime and saying, "Hey, at the end of the quarter, this is how we can expect. Are we in the green or in the red?" That's another discussion, but that's how we do that. Yeah.
Has it ever happened to you that your results were much better than expected?
Sure. I mean, that's how we was able to maximize the first fundraise of the company. So the company raised $2.2 million at the beginning of 2023. And that's how we was able to grow as a company, to hire a lot of person. And now we want to maximize the revenue to go to the Series A. But we had some really good results in 2021, 2022 as well. Now we want to keep that same path and same pace for 2023 and 2024.
Excellent. Last question on the how can I say, the juice of your work. How important is negotiation in your role? You talked a lot about understanding the customer's needs, presenting to them the product and the value of it. How much do you have to negotiate in the interactions with them?
Yeah, that's really depend on the size of the customer. But if we take our typical customer, the reality is that you don't negotiate with just one person. You have to understand, or you have to negotiate with a lot of, decision makers. There is the VP of Finance, there is the VP of Operation, the VP of HR, and then the CEO as well. There is a bunch of people that you need to convince, and in all that, type of people, they will have a champion, they will have the decision maker, and then the detractors. Detractors is actually the one that you really need to discuss with as soon as you can, because even if you negotiate, you align on a price, that detractor will do everything to make the deal not happen, actually, right? So it's really important to negotiate with them first. And there is no real technique of negotiation, but as a sales team, and the Merinio's value is not to be in a pricing war. It's not our main goal. We're not in a rush as well, in the way that, we'll not undersell, because the problem is that when you try to, let's say a customer try to negotiate too much, and he say, "Yeah, I have your current competitor that offer me that at that price," which is, let's say, much more lower than what we can sell, is that, okay, sure, so go with that customer. But there is high chance that, where I want to come with that is that, sometimes price come with value. And I hate talking about cost and price. I really like to talk about investment, because what we bring to customers is a return on investment. We are really convinced of that. If we cannot provide any returns, we'll not make a deal. And that's how the customer take decision. So if we can align on the price that fit the return that they think they will be able to achieve with our tool, then price is just a formality, right? So, and there is different type of customer. There is the customer that want to have a tool in place, whatever the cost, that is wanting to pay a high price to provide value to their teams. And then there is the other companies that want to go with cheap solution. But and when we have those kind of situation, we just say, okay, sure, go ahead, and looking forward to speak with you in 8 months when you will see that your needs is not covered yet. So, and that's happened a lot of time already. So, and sometimes we just when we see they're too pushy on the sales, we just say, okay, you can talk with them. They have a more competitive pricing, but they will not cover all of your needs. So that's basically how you can negotiate, right? You try to explain. At the end of the day, it's about value. If they're convinced of the value, they should not negotiate too much on the price.
Okay. And so even beyond the price, has it ever happened to you that you meet with a prospect and you understand that the solution you're bringing does not really correspond with their needs? Does it ever happen that you say, okay, no problem, thank you and good luck, and that's it?
Yeah, that's something usually we do. For example, Merinio is very specialized in workforce management, but for larger companies. So sometimes we receive inbounds from the marketing campaign we're doing with very small companies. We might be able to cover the needs, but the reality is that it's not our focus. It's not what we do best. So Merinio might be overkill for what they're looking at. So of course we can close that deal, but the reality is it's not our focus. And in that situation, instead of losing 1 or 3 months of sales cycle, I just say, okay, listen, right now at the moment, the needs, we can cover your needs, but there is, this company that, that's what they do, they focus on it. So go talk with them and sure you'll be happy. And if you have all the needs that you think we can help you with, contact us again. It will be a big pleasure. So sometimes we even send the prospect to some competitors because we know that competitors, we actually cover the needs. So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And in the opposite perspective, as a salesperson, you must face quite a lot of rejection. Mm-hmm. How do you learn to deal with rejection, and how do you, become emotionally bulletproof to being rejected?
Yeah, I think it's, how I can say that. I think salesperson have to like being rejected because, not like, but I think the most important thing is that don't take things personally. That's the most important. There is the business side, but even on the personal side, you have a friend that made a bad joke or that is anyway. I mean, as soon as you see someone taking things too personally, that's a red flag. And in the sales team that I hired, it was something that I was looking at very seriously. So yeah, and how do we handle objection? It's just how I can give you an example of, like in sales, there is a lot of up and downs. So for example, when I was doing cold calls every day, when I was a business development representative, you can have 2, 3, 4 days in a row without talking with someone and without having any success. But the thing is, even with objections, you have to be happy. You have to celebrate small success. Let's say, okay, on average, it's taking me 2 to 3 weeks to have someone on the phone after 2 to 3 emails, 2 to 3 calls, 1 or 2 LinkedIn outreach, and then I talk with him. That's a lot, right? Let's say I'm able to talk with that VP of operation from my first cold call, but he still say, no, I'm not interested. That's not cool, but in the same time, it's cool. You just say 3 weeks. You can now focus on other people that might be interested in your product, right? Okay. So it's a good way of, handle objections. And the other thing is that, there is a lot of up and downs. So maybe you will have 2, 3, 4 days in a row. You will not be happy with yourself and the result you had. But as soon as you have a done deal, a customer that answer you positively, then you will forget all the bad hours that you had before. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really loved in sales. Yeah.
Good point. And so to recap a bit all of this, in your opinion, what is a good salesperson?
A good salesperson is someone curious that is asking questions. Okay. And I will stop here. That's it. We have the image of salesperson that is being pushy, talking. But sales, you're actually losing every time customer when you have someone that is just talking, right? And when you see, for example, when you go to luxury brands, right, like big famous clothes brands, the seller that are here on site actually ask questions to the customer. What are you looking for today? How can I help you? And that's exactly what we need in sales. I don't want someone that's just try to push the sales and don't let the customer talk, because the more you talk, the less the customer can express what he needs, let you know about him, and the less you can help him. Relationally speaking, you help someone based on what he's telling you. You can help someone if you know his pain. A psychologist will, for example, help someone by listening to that person, right? So it's a bit the same with sales. So that's it. And then, of course, be able to convince a person that you can help him.
Okay.
That's another thing. But first of all, if you really want to be a good in sales, curiosity and the ability of asking questions and listen to those answers, of course, because then you have people that are asking a lot of great questions, but they're actually not listening to the answers. So that's another thing. But yeah, a lot of sales individuals as well see the prospect as a transaction. So as soon as they close the deal, boom, it's finished. I never heard about them anymore. That's not my behavior. That's not my style at all. Even if we have the quote sign, it's actually at the moment we start providing value, right? Like it's not. That's the reason why I hate the terms, closing, because closing is that we close the project, it's finished, it's done. No, it's actually at the closing step that the project starts. That's actually at that moment when we can provide value. So it's very important as a sales individual as well to keep that relation with the customer on long term. Yep.
Okay. And so have you ever found yourself in a situation where ethically you had to say, okay, I have an issue here, I have to take a step back?
When you say ethically, what do you mean exactly?
I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine the reality of a salesperson, like some situations where to close a deal, you had to do something and you were like, okay, maybe this is not the right way to do things.
I can give you an example, and it will be aligned a bit with the negotiation question that you had before. We had a prospect that was really interesting with our product. We had a great first call, we had a great demo, but then we were arriving on the pricing discussion. And we were really surprised because the prospect sent us an email saying, hey guys, I talked with a few of your customers. It seems that you are really much more expensive with the tool that we have right now. So unless you are able to match that price, we're not moving forward. And it's not about ethics, but I basically decided to stop working with them because they had a lot of challenges with the current solution that they're using, but they wanted to have a new tool that will cover all of the needs with the same price, right? That's not working. And he just sent that by email, so I'm more like that's not the way we do business. So that's the reason why we decided to stop the collaboration with them. So I don't know if it's answered the question on the ethic side of it, but yeah.
Okay. And do you believe there might be a difference between the B2B and the B2C kind of sales?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Like right now, we're doing direct outbound sales, which can be more difficult than B2C. But yeah, definitely. B2C is more like emotion, right? Like you have to create some emotion when you sell that to when you are in the B2C mode. When you are in B2B, on top of the emotion, of course, you still have to create that emotion, but on top of that, the person or the company that is buying your product will have much more due diligence. Will have much more procedure to make sure they will buy your product compared to, B2C, there is that kind of FOMO thing, discount, okay, let's go, I will go, I like this company, I will buy it, You're just alone with your head when you are in B2C mode. Instead of B2B, you will have to handle multiple layer of of decision process. Yeah.
Okay. And do you ever face international challenges? Let's say, for example, you have you have a prospect that's in another country. Is it different in your process because of the cultural differences? How does it work?
Yeah. So at the moment, we're pretty lucky in the way that the majority of our customer is in Quebec.
Okay.
So that's the thing. Now we also have customer in BC, in the west coast of Canada. And recently we just had our brand new first customer in US based. So to answer very well that question, I will not have the exact answer, but yeah, that's of course something you will need to adapt. But we're pretty lucky because internally in the team, we have Anglophone people, we have people coming from Europe, we also have, Quebecers as well. So we have a good, mix of people, and that's will allowing us to adapt when we have to deal with different customer. Yep.
Excellent. Now I would like to ask you about a certain situation in the movie that's pretty famous. That's called The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, of course.
There's this famous scene where where Jordan Belfort, the character, asks a friend to sell him the pen. Do you think that's realistic? And do you think it's a good exercise as a salesperson?
Yeah, I think that exercise has really been stereotyped thanks to that movie. But if you really look at the end goal of Jordan Belfort doing that is, I don't know if you recall, but at the end of the movie, we see, several, he asking that to several person, and then he just stopped. And the good behavior on that is not, is a bit in line with what I said, asking question is a bit the same. Why you would need that pen? Instead of saying, hey, that pen is amazing, it's made of steel, you can, do that with that, etc. It's just a pen. So just directly pitching the project without understanding why you should need that pen is actually a good exercise. So I really think, and I'm not sure about that, but if I were about to do that exercise with my sales team, the behavior I would like to see is instead of pitching the pen is understanding why I should need that pen. And that's a matter, again, of asking the right question and creating demand as well, because by asking the question, maybe the customer will realize that he have a real need that he didn't knew about before. And then you will be able to sell the pen.
Excellent. And so what do you believe young professionals should focus on first if they want to enter a sales career?
It's a matter about results. At the end of the day, you really need to be result-driven. But something a mentor told me is that, Arthur, as you are a sales individual, I don't care if you're doing 2 hours or 80 hours, right? Like if you're working 2 hours a week, but you're still achieving quota, I'm like, well, I will be happy for you, right? And that's the thing. I think it's important to understand that at the end of the day, sales is about revenue you're generating, right? So you really have to have that understanding. And that's also the reason why sometimes sales is the first department to be cut when, it's the company is doing bad, because the expectation we have from a sales individual is to provide revenue, to break even, of course, what he's being cost to the company, but generate even more to maintain that growth and hire all the individuals as well. So that's the first thing. And then if they want to, there is no hard skills, but again, that's really depend of what you want to do. But if we're looking about, software tech sales precisely, it will be the ability to be to ask, again, question, be curious, but don't be afraid of asking, direct technical questions to high decision makers that, manage hundreds of employees. And don't be afraid to sometimes create an opportunity as well. For example, I'm at a trade show, I see that VP of operation that is in charge of 10,000 employees. When you start the sales career, it might be impressive, but at the end of the day, you're not disturbing him. You have a great product that can add value, right? So, who cares? Just go talk with him, and if he react well, cool. If he's not interesting, he's just not interested. But don't be afraid of, just going out there, call them. A lot of them say, hey, I don't want to call them. I will disturb them. That's not cool. It's a cold call. I don't like doing that. No, you're really convinced that your product can add value. Then why not calling them, right? That's the thing. And another thing I think is sales is very important. I see a lot of people that sell a product that they're not inspired on, that they not see value in. They just see that as a job. But the reality is, when you work in sales, you really need to be committed and to be sold on your own on the product you sell, right? If you not believe in the product you sell, there is low chances that you will have a success in your career. That's for sure.
Very good. So that was already a bit of an advice, but this was more sales related. I would like to ask you, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received career-wise? And would you give the same piece of advice to your 20-year-old young self?
I mean, I'm still really young, but take time. And when I look at young generation now, including me, we always want to go fast. With social networks, if you don't have a Lamborghini or anything before the age of 30, you kind of failure. And that's actually the kind of things I see more and more, and sometimes it's really important to be patient because at the end of the day, a senior sales executive, we have great skills, but after doing 10, 15 years in sales. So yeah, take the time, learn, do some career move, try several products, but be patient, I think is the best words, even in sales. We are in a fast-paced world, tech, sometimes we're going back to this, but, there is sales leaders that, ask to push the sales as much as they can. Of course, we're doing that, but at the end of the day, you have to be patient with your customer, but with you as well, looking at your career.
Very beautiful. This leads us to the last few questions of this interview. So first of all, I would like to ask, what do you have left to accomplish?
What do you have left to accomplish? Like my main goal now as a sales director is to, finalizing the whole sales structure. Because like I said, we are startups, so there is a lot of things that we can improve on today. The structure, what we need to understand on each sales cycle, how to very challenge the sales executive on the current pipeline. So I think there is a lot of internal admin procedure that we need to improve. So that's the first thing. And then the ability to be consistent on the revenue generation. That's the main goal of the company. It's still something we're working on. And yeah, the goal of the company is to do a Series A, in the next 12 to 18 months. And obviously that Series A will be able to happen only if we're able to achieve a certain level of revenue. So yeah, right now my two main focus is to improve how the sales team is working, improve the training, improve the coaching as well, and achieve the main company goal, which is the revenue. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, more of a personal reflection. If you could have a private meeting with someone, dead or alive, who would it be?
I don't have a precise name, but definitely some people that I'm really inspired and impressed is all the politicians, and more precisely presidents, because it's the person that I think have to deal with a lot of pressure, that still have that ability to listen to everyone. But at the end of the day, when you deal with a country, you can make everyone's happy. So whatever decision you take, you will have to deal with people that will be happy with that decision and people that will be unhappy. But that's a lot of pressure. And yeah, I'm just so curious to see what is their day-to-day and how they handle pressure, the high intensity of schedules as well, because they're working almost every time, and how do they handle their personal life that's come with it, because obviously there is an impact. As soon as you're a president, your family, your friends will behave differently as soon as you are a president. So yeah, really curious to be able to talk with people in the politician sphere, but yeah, I don't have any precise names.
Very fair enough. So now I'll ask a few personal favorites. So what book inspired you the most?
Do you know the Substantial Art of Not Giving a Fuck? I think it was a bestseller. It was gave me by an old friend that I had from Frontier Ventures. But that book was actually amazing because, starting my career, I was actually pretty stressed on, I want to achieve my goal. I was very ambitious and still very ambitious, but, at the end of the day, you're kind of being anxious and stressed about, I'm not achieving that, goal I had. And at the end of the day, who cares, right? Like, we always compare to everyone's. We always want to, he just get that new job. He's looking so interesting. That's cool. But if we're looking, back in the old days, nobody's know. If we forget about the social media thing, you don't know what your neighbor is doing, right? Like, and that's the thing. Like right now, I think we're really too much on comparing each other and wanting to be better than the others, because we can easily see if we are performing more than the others, right? Looking at LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. And the subtle art of not giving a fuck is actually thinking for you and not the others. And yeah, I learned a lot about that book, yeah, for sure. Even today, sometimes I do bold move thanks to that book. So
really?
Again, internally thinking, I say, who cares? Let's just do it and let's see after what is the impact of that. But yeah,
very nice.
Overthinking is sometimes killing you. So yeah.
It's true that it's very useful for our generation. What's your favorite movie/TV show?
Like TV shows, and that's something it really not shocked me because coming from France, we don't talk about money, but it was the the Dragon's Den. I arrived in Montreal, see 4 or 5 founders talking about investment on the TV, coming from France. Back 8 years ago, I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like, why we're not doing that in France? I know that now they're doing that since maybe 1 or 2 years.
Exactly.
But I'm pretty sure like 8 years before, it was not something France was ready to. But that's definitely something I really like, be able to pitch something in 1-2 minutes. That investment kind of approach with the venture capital as well is something that was pretty new for me. So it's like TV shows, and then about the movies, I think would be The Great Gatsby.
Ah, interesting. This brings us to the last question of this interview. What can we wish you for the future?
Good question, and thank you for asking that. So the best thing you can wish me is to make that team, that sales team, grow, make Merinio a great success. I think it's one of my biggest goal as a person now. I'm really committed to that company, so do whatever I can to have a great success and maintain that same pace and make that company grow.
Excellent, then that's what we will wish you. So thank you very much. This was
Thank you.
Arthur de Vaublanc on Business Minds.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
So,
Ready?
Arthur's.
C'est vrai que c'est 2 Arthur.
Oui, oui.
C'est rare, ouais.
C'est la première fois.